Me too. Good morning, everybody. How you doing today? Welcome to Unity of Metairie. We're here to celebrate that divine presence in each and every one of us. So sit back and relax, sing along with us this morning. We're so glad that you're here with us. Many of you remember this song as we come together today to celebrate our life, the divine life we live. Sing with me, here we go. Celebrate your life, come on, come on, come on. Let's celebrate, celebrate your life, come on, come on, come on. There's a party going on right here, a celebration to last throughout the year. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We're gonna celebrate your life with you. Come on now, celebration. We're gonna celebrate and have a good time. Yeah. Celebration. We're gonna celebrate and have a good time. It's time to come together. It's up to you. What's your pleasure? Everyone around the world, come on. Let's hear it. It's a celebration. Yeah. There we go. It's a celebration. Celebrate your life. Come on, come on, come on. Let's celebrate. Celebrate your life. Come on, come on, come on, yeah. And we're gonna have a good time with life. Let's celebrate. It's alright, yeah. And we're gonna have a good time with life. Let's celebrate. It's alright. We're gonna have a good time with life. Let's celebrate. It's alright, yeah. We're gonna have a good time with life. Let's celebrate. It's alright. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to Unity of Metairie, where we honor all religions, all lifestyles, all spiritual paths. We believe that God is present in every living thing. So sing along with us this morning. And we welcome everybody watching us on Facebook this morning. Hey, you guys. Yeah. One more time. Celebrate your life. Let's sing it out, y'all. Celebrate your life. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Let's celebrate. Celebrate your life. Come on. Come on. Come on. So let's go around and get some hugs and handshakes and welcome everybody this morning, y'all, with our spiritual family. Welcome, welcome. Y'all, let's get in that last hug. As we begin to settle in, good morning, everybody. All right. Good morning. It's a beautiful day here in New Orleans and Metairie. We're so glad you're here. We welcome everybody on Facebook, wherever you are around the world. Thank you for joining us today. Whether you're watching us on Sunday morning right now or you're watching us later, we're so grateful that your presence is here. And come visit us sometime. We're right here on Veterans Boulevard in Metairie, so come and join us. And if you're out of town, you have a good new reason to come to New Orleans and visit. So welcome, everybody. Is there anybody here for the very first time? For the very first time? Do I see any new faces at all? I see some faces that we haven't seen in a while, but and if no one's here for the very first time, then we welcome everyone here. If you would like, anyone that's watching us on Facebook today, if you would like to get a packet and learn more about what Unity is here locally and what we do all around the world, you're welcome to send us your address, we'll be happy to mail this packet to you. And if you have any questions about what Unity is, you're welcome to email us. You can visit our website anytime at unityofmetairie.com. Really simple, unityofmetairie.com. There's a way you can send us any information or questions you might have. I love that Unity is not a religion. We're not a whole bunch of dogmas. We're a wonderful, spiritual, philosophical way to live in practical ways. The original founders of Unity, the Fillmores, call this practical Christianity, which means we take the ideas and scriptures that have been passed by the mystics throughout the years and actually use them in our life. Isn't that amazing? Yes. Actually use these things. I mean, it's great. So I'm Jack Fowler. I'm the spiritual director here, and I'm so happy to be part of the spiritual community. It's been almost 6 years since I've been here, and we've had so many wonderful times together, and we've shared so many beautiful things. I can't believe it's the fall already. Wow, how did September happen? You would not know it by the temperature. So with that in mind, today, since it is kind of hot, we are going to do our heat affirmation. So I would like you to get in the lotus position or any position that you would like. This may be the most important part of the service, as we are grateful for everything, all of it. What we call good or bad is just our judgment. So repeat after me as you say, I love the heat. I love the heat. The sweat feels so good. The sweat feels so good. It releases the toxins from my body. It releases the toxins from my body. It keeps my face glowing and wonderful looking. It keeps my face glowing and wonderful. I love the humidity. I love the humidity. I'm so grateful for the humidity. And so it is. We do say grateful. And you know, the good news is January and February comes and other people are digging snow out from off their cars. We'll be in our flip-flops, at least hopefully. I mean, last winter was kind of chilly, but we do welcome everyone today. If you would take a moment and silence your cell phones, we'd appreciate that, so we can create a sacred space together, anything else that might make a noise. And we have two beautiful girls I see over here. If we have any other kids that would like to join us, we have a portion of our service where we bring kids up. So you guys want to come up? Would you like to join us back here? You think she'd want to come up? That's okay. Okay, you should. What embarrassing. Here comes Sophia as well. Maybe next time she'll feel like it. We have, this is a very important part of our service where we take a moment and acknowledge the children that are here. Myrtle Fillmore, one of our co-founders, said that the children are not our future. The children are our present. They bring awareness and awakeness. They're here to teach us. They're here to show us. They're here to remind us. Many of us have a bad case of amnesia, which I'm going to talk about later, and they're here to help remind us of who we are. So during Sunday morning, we bless these beautiful ones before they go back and be part of the youth program. And as we do, we send that blessing to children all over the world. May they recognize that within them there's a power that's greater than anything in this world. How wonderful to know this at such a young age. So if you want to put your hands up, you want to send some energy, if you want to send some love, and you can send some love if you're watching on Facebook today, send that energy right out as we say together. Children of light, we bless you. We see you loved, guided, and protected by God's presence. And New Orleans style, we love you hard. We swear to God. All right, so they can go to the back and they have a wonderful time. Remind everybody that we have a wonderful youth program every Sunday at 11 that while we have our service out here. Paul and Brenda and all the teachers do such a great job where these kids learn these life-affirming principles just as we learn them out here. So let's all take a big, deep breath. Become settled in. As best you can, begin to release any worries or thoughts, anything from the past, from this morning, from yesterday. Realize that all of your power is right here and right now in this moment. Everything you need is here, now. So we breathe in deeply, relaxing, knowing that we are exactly where we need to be. There are no mistakes in the mind of God. Life is unfolding perfectly, exactly as it should. And so give yourself permission to just relax, knowing that there is a magnificent force, a loving presence within you that's always leading you, always guiding you, always protecting you. We're grateful to know that this group of people in this space, in this time, will never, ever happen just like this again. So this is a holy, sacred, unique moment. We've been brought here together by Spirit to remind each other of who we are. I'll ask Steve to come up as we begin to move into a deeper time of prayer and meditation. Once again, just breathing in with gratitude as we listen to these thoughts from our daily word.
Today's daily word is Let Go, Let God for Sunday, September 23rd, 2018. And it reads, I release fear-based reactions and allow infinite love to fill me. Each day brings new adventures in being. Keeping up with the schedule I compile for myself each morning could become a challenge as the day unfolds. Facing challenges and making choices are essential elements in fulfilling the purpose that brings me, a spiritual being, into human form. Every loving choice represents another step toward the transformation of this world into the new dimension that Jesus Christ called the kingdom of heaven. Jesus also said, I can do nothing on my own. John 5:30. And I remember those words as I face every challenge. I gently release fear-based thoughts that crowd my mortal mind and allow the infinite love with me to guide me to my highest good. This is taken from scripture in Proverbs 3, chapter 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own insight.
So we take these words within as we continue to relax, becoming still, ready to listen, ready to know. As we get ready to enter into the silence, we know that right here, right now, we are exactly where we need to be. So we open our hearts and open our minds, ready to listen, ready to hear this wisdom within us that is greater than anything in this world. For everything you need is right here in this moment. Right here, right now, we have come into the presence of God, and our hearts are open to the love that's found right here, right now. Right here, right now, we have come into the presence of God, and our hearts are open to the love that's found right here, right now, and our hearts are open, and our hearts are open to the love that's found right here, right now. Right here, right now, within you, there is a power, there is a presence, there is a light. Within you, there is a place where nothing is impossible. There is a place within you that in this moment is exactly as God created you. In wholeness, perfection, completeness. Sometimes we forget to look within and see this vast presence within us. So we become distracted by the world and all the commotion and confusion and chaos. And the news that we hear, sometimes we forget that within us there is a presence that is powerful than anything else in this world. It is our true essential self, created in the image and likeness of God. It is who you really are. Exactly as God, an expression of God. For who you really are is timeless, ageless, holy, perfect. You are the very presence of love, the presence of life. And within you, in the stillness, is the answer to any question you may have this morning, the solution to any problem you may have this morning. For there is a wisdom within you that knows, that it knows, that it knows. This wisdom can only be found when we allow our minds to become quiet and still, and allow ourselves to move into the emptiness, into the silence, into the stillness. For this is the place where miracles happen. This is the place where prayers are answered. This is the place where dis-ease is healed. For your true essential self knows nothing of sadness and sorrow and sickness and death. Who you are is eternal. This true essential self is the only real thing about you. It was here before you were born. It is within you in this very moment. And it is the only thing that you will leave with this experience with. It is who you are. A holy, beautiful expression of God, a child of the Most High. No matter what anyone has told you, or no matter what you think yourself, you cannot change what God has created holy, perfect, and complete. So I would invite you to move into a deeper time of stillness and silence, to access this part within us, this holiness, this presence, this power. We only find this presence in the stillness. I invite you to continue to breathe, consciously watching your breath, bringing all of your focus inward, letting go of any thoughts from this week, this morning, any plans for this afternoon, bringing all of your focus and attention to this holy instant, right here. Watching your breathing in deeply and letting go. Surrendering to now. As your body becomes still and quiet, take a moment and look at your thoughts. See what's there. Allow any thoughts to be there and just simply begin to let them fall away, realizing that you have the power and the choice for your mind to become empty and still and open. For there's a sacred space, a gap between your thoughts and the nothingness. This is where miracles happen. This is where healing happens. This is where transformation happens. In that gap, in the stillness between your thoughts and the nothingness. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that all is well. Be still and know that you are loved with a magnificent, unconditional love. Within you in this moment. It's the very presence and power of God. Breathing in, letting go, surrendering, listening, waiting in the stillness. In the silence. So from this place of stillness, beauty, we're grateful for this time together, knowing that we have been brought here together. This is a holy time, a holy purpose. We are here in perfect and divine order, and so we turn this time over to Spirit, knowing that whatever needs to be said will be said, whatever needs to be heard will be heard. As we are here to remind each other, to awaken each other, as we see that reflection of God in others, we so see it within ourselves. And so for this time together, we say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is. Good morning once again.
Good morning.
Beginning to feel a little bit of air conditioning. We might need to do our heat affirmations again. Thank you for sharing on that journey, and thank you for being here this morning. There's nowhere I'd rather be than with my spiritual family on Sunday morning. When I'm not here, and even if I'm speaking somewhere else, I always miss you guys so much. I mean, this feels like family to me. This feels comfortable, and it feels like home. We were talking about last week at our new members orientation on Saturdays. We had some beautiful new members join our spiritual family, how one common feeling and phrase that people share whenever they find Unity is, I found home. Welcome home. I love that thought of just welcoming home. I know that when I first found these teachings, it did feel like home. It felt very familiar. And though I had a lot to learn, I was happy to know that there were people just as crazy as I was, that were willing to not accept things just because they were told to me. And gratefully, many of us now have done that. And some of those old things that we taught serve a purpose for us even now, but a lot of those things we have to let go. So welcome home. And you are the brave souls that have said, maybe everything that I thought and was taught when I was little might not be true. That's a very brave statement to make. And being open. Many of the spiritual masters, or mostly all of them, said that we should always be open at the top. And what that means, for instance, Jesus said it in a way, he said, greater things than I did shall you do. And Ernest Holmes, who wrote The Science of Mind that started the Center for Spiritual Living, he said always be open at the top, which he means just open for new ideas. Because just as science moves forward and We learn things new. At one point, of course, everyone thought the world was flat. And that was scientifically proven. But we now know that that's not true. And I would love to skip forward like 1,000 years and see what we really firmly believe right now that's not true. That we take it just because science has shown us that it's true. And so these mystics have said to stay open. And I believe that's why Jesus said, greater things than I have done will you do. For one, Jesus said that we were his equal, that we were all this one presence, this one extension of God. But Jesus was very aware, though, that as consciousness evolved, our ability to see would evolve as well. And I don't mean see with our eyes, but I mean see into the very depths. Our new exploration is not into space. The new exploration is within. It's going within. I believe that's where we're headed and where we are. I mean, it's happening right now. So welcome, brave souls. Welcome home. It's like a Star Trek episode or something. What did they used to do? Star Trek actually had a lot of predictions for the future. Remember the things they called the communicators that they use if you're a Star Trek fan? Cell phones, duh, It's interesting. I am slightly afraid of dematerializing, though. Who knows, maybe when that'll happen. You know what I mean by that? Where your molecular structure, you stand in the thing and you're decomposed and then you're like sent to London in a split second, then they recompose you there. Transporting, is that what it is? Yeah. So I'm a little afraid of that because when I was younger, I saw the movie The Fly. Did you see The Fly? Do you remember The Fly? Where the little fly, if you're not familiar with it, this transporting actually existed, and this little fly got into the booth with the poor gentleman that got transported. So he got some of the fly's qualities too, and he eventually flied out and became like a fly. But yes, it will be interesting to see what hardcore truths we believe now, which will someday be proven completely false. That will be very neat to know that. First of all, a couple things I want to say. Acknowledge our new members, and Everett, there's a picture that I inserted in there. I wanted to acknowledge last week we had our new member ceremony, and look at these beautiful people that became official members of our community. This picture turned out so great. I just wanted to show these beautiful faces. We had such a nice ceremony last week and welcome them in as official members. So y'all, let's give those new members a hand. Most of them are here today. Awesome. Yeah, and thank you also everyone that sent me pictures. I actually have to acknowledge so many people sent me pictures, and I don't have everyone's contact name, so a lot of them came as numbers, just as numbers. I didn't know who they were from, so I need to get back with everyone. I have so many pictures in my phone. They were texted to me, and they were like, "Hey, Jack, what's up?" I'm like, "Who is this?" But I have tons of pictures, so thank you everybody that took pictures. Another thing I wanted to mention, today is a special day. I saw him earlier. I thought he was going to be in Ireland in a pub drinking, but today is Paul's Martinez birthday. Yay! I thought, didn't you say you were going to be in a pub somewhere? What happened with it? Oh, you already did it. All right. He has a certain way he celebrates. So, so you're barely here today. Well, that's good. As long as you're here, that's great. So one of the questions that we were asked, most of us have been asked at some point, and sometimes we've been asked this kind of when we were in trouble. When I was little, I didn't get in trouble all the time, but I was one of these kids, and it's really horrible. I need to go apologize to a bunch of kids in high school and elementary school and middle school, because I was one of those kids that did certain things, but I would make it look like somebody else did it. So I did things but never got in trouble for it. Anybody else was like that? And I never did horrible things, but I was mischievous, put it that way. I mean, I never did crazy stuff, but I was very mischievous. I think I was trying to live up to my standard of being a preacher's son. You know how they say the preacher's sons are the worst, and the sons and daughters. Plus, my mom and dad were both ministers, so it was like a double whammy. I was like doubly bad. But one phrase that I heard some from my mom and others when I had done something, because I was very outspoken as well. I should have known I'd end up in something like Immunity, because I was very outspoken, even in Sunday school, where you weren't supposed to question anything that was said. Every now and then someone would say, well, who do you think you are? You ever heard that before? Who do you think you are? in one way or another. And sometimes, that's a question we can just ponder. But for the most part, I heard it when I was, something was up. Like, who do you think you are? And they just say, like, fancy pants and, call all kind of names. And that's a very important question for all of us to continually ask. Who do you think you are? Because the answer to that question determines every facet of your life and how every facet of your life works and how it works out. It has to do with how your relationships work. It has to do with the type of job you have. Are you fulfilled? Are you not? It has to do with your financial situation. It has to do with everything for you to ask that question, who do you think you are? And it becomes then a very deep philosophical question where we have to ask ourselves, who do you think you are? Jesus asked this question quite a bit. As a matter of fact, there's a very wonderful passage in the Bible that talks about Jesus even asking some of his followers, who do you say that I am? He was trying to get a grasp on what other people thought about him as well, which I thought was interesting. I've always wondered what his motivation was for asking that. I don't know if we could ever be really clear about that, but I was going to tell you the story really quick. This comes from a wonderful website that just tells some of the stories from the Bible in very colorful ways, and I love reading this. And by the way, as we have our, if you love the Bible and love to relook at it, don't forget that every month we have our metaphysical Bible class where we're able to look at the scriptures with new eyes. And we have that, what is that, the second Sunday? Third Tuesday. That's the third Tuesday of every month. So this just tells a story about Jesus when he asked that question and began to ponder, who am I? Who do you think you are? It had been a busy season among the hills and valleys of northern Palestine. There in the land of Gennesaret and in the towns of Tyre and Sidon and on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, Jesus of Nazareth had reproved a group of Pharisees for hypocrisy, rid a Syrophoenician girl of unclean spirits, restored a deaf man hearing, and fed a multitude of 4,000 with 7 loaves of bread and a few small fishes. Then boarding a ship, Jesus sailed to Dalmatia, where he confronted the Pharisees once more. From there he traveled to Bethsaida, this is like a geography class, where he healed a blind man. Afterward, according to the Gospel of St. Mark, as he walked north toward Philippi, Jesus asked his disciples, who do men say that I am? Who do men say that I am? This is one of the most resonant questions in the whole of the New Testament. It is the question, it seems, of a man who wishes to disturb, but also is himself disturbed. And this is why I think he actually asked the question. I think he was really clear about it, but I think he was trying to rattle their cages to see, who do you think that I am? I mean, what would you think about someone that you met that had just was involved with someone being healed of blindness, all these, the multitude with the fishes and the loaves, the story where he fed thousands of people, you would wonder, like, who is this person? Where did this person come from? And that's exactly what happened to some of our teachers today, as I talked about sometimes the Fillmores that were the founders of Unity. That's why they were so charismatic, because they were just living their life in such a big way that people were saying, well, who are these people? Like, how are they being healed? They both had lots of illnesses and sicknesses, and people were curious. And I think this is why Jesus was asking this question. He was just kind of rattling their cages and getting them to think about it. Because I'm sure they wondered at times who Jesus was for that time. Even though they had chosen to follow him, I'm sure they had times of uncertainty, thinking, is this the right thing? Because Jesus said a lot of things that were very blasphemous for that time. And that's actually the reason why he was eventually crucified. But his followers, I'm sure, had times where they really doubted and said, who is this man that we're following? He's so charismatic and we're compelled to follow him, but who is this person? And I believe that's why he was asking that question. Thus seeking guidance, perhaps to ken the range of possibilities, Jesus put the question to his followers. It is an affecting and very human moment for Jesus. Some of his disciples said, they call you John the Baptist. Others said Elijah or one of the prophets. Unmentioned by the disciple on this occasion, though, and how many times we do this to our friends, we kind of leave out the bad stuff. On this occasion were the many choicer and less admiring epithets for Jesus, then current Palestine: blasphemer, false prophet, madman. So, a lot of times we see the beautiful side of what was happening in Jesus' story, but as the disciples showed in this, they left out some of the worst parts, what other people were saying. I mean, some were saying he was a prophet, but can you imagine being called a madman? A false prophet? But Jesus persisted. Even after that, he says, "But who do you say that I am?" And only Simon Peter ventured a reply, "Thou art the Christ." Now, what he meant by this was, I think that Simon Peter had a glimpse with that one little statement to say, of course we know that Jesus' last name wasn't Christ. He wasn't Mr. Christ, Jesus Christ. But I think that he realized that Christ was this indwelling presence within, and he recognized that and said, "You are the Christ. You are the presence of God made manifest into the world." In the end, Jesus declined to enlighten his followers with an answer. He simply bade them to hold their tongues. So, in other words, Jesus never answered his own question, is what I'm saying. He asked them, and that's why I believe he asked them just to rattle their cages and to see what they thought. Because when you begin to think about that, then the question turns inward and you have to ask it to yourself. Sometimes it's easier to look at someone else and recognize who they are and recognize their talents. I have tried to encourage, I know so many people in my life that are extraordinary artists, musicians, and they don't know it yet. And sometimes we have to be the voice of someone to say, "You're so gifted. You're so talented." Do you know someone in your life that's like that you always just encourage, or you want to encourage them, to remind them? Because sometimes it's weird, it's hardest for us to see the gifts and to see who we are. I believe that's why some people who can't really sing at all become superstars. And we know some of those. I'm not going to name names, I'm not here to judge. And then we know people, I know many in Nashville that can sing just as well as like a Whitney Houston or Aretha Franklin, but they're waiting tables. So what's the difference there? Well, the difference is they both had a different answer to that question. Who do you think that you are? Who do you think you are? The answer to their question determines where their life leads them and what their life is about. One person in particular I wanted to spend time talking about today. Many of you were here 2 years ago on October, I'm going to get the date right, October 22nd, 2016, 2 years ago. A dear, dear friend of mine, we co-wrote many songs together. We actually had a couple of songs that were hits that we co-wrote, didn't sing but co-wrote, and he always struggled with understanding who he was. He always struggled with that. He had a very similar background that I had as far as religion, a very similar upbringing, and so he struggled. He had so much guilt and so much trauma within him that he was unable to really see exactly who he was. On October 22nd of 2016, he died in the back of his car by himself, totally by himself. And it shook me to the core because I said, that could be me. I mean, one turn to the left or right, that could be me. And the reason he was there is because his answer to the question of who do you think that you are wasn't the same as God's. God sees us in a certain way. That's why I say over and over and over again, no matter what you think about yourself, no matter what you have thought, no matter what anyone has told you, that right now in this moment, you are exactly as God created you, completely holy, completely perfect. You don't need anything. Everything you need is within you in this moment, right here, right now. The ego uses time to make us think that the promises of God are in the future, and they're not. They're here. They're now. It's only, will we accept them? That's why unity doesn't say the word prayer, although we say prayer, but when we say prayer, we always say affirmative in front of it. That's the reason, is because we believe there's nothing to pray for. You have everything that you need within you in this very moment. You don't have to wait till that job comes through or that perfect relationship happens. Everything that you need is within you right now. And so all that prayer is affirming that it's already there and then accepting it. But before that, you still have to answer the question, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? It is an important question, it's one that we, I think, continually ask throughout our lives, and it is the journey of our lives to continue to define that. The other important thing about my friend Keith, for me, was in everything that happens, there's perfection and there's a gift. And although I still think about it, I wish I could have been there to help him. I wish I could have been there to have said something. I wish I could have been there. But all I could think of after I got this news was, wow, that could have been me. And I wish that I could have done something about it. However, it is what it is. It is what happened. And in that, he left me a gift. He left me a gift. For one, it said, get off your butt and get busy. Get off your butt and get busy, because at that time, I'd been inspired to write a book. And many of you have heard about the famous book now for 2 years, and it is in the works, I promise. It is there. As a matter of fact, it has to do exactly with this topic. It's called Mistaken Identity. And it's about how we mistake our identity and we make poor choices based off not knowing who we are. And when I got this news about Keith, I thought, because we were similar in age as well, and I thought, wow, this is my cosmic 2x4. I need to get to work. I need to get down to business of doing what there is to do. And I started writing, and from his passing came many chapters out of this book, and I ended up dedicating it to him. As a matter of fact, the beginning of the book starts out, I won't quote the whole thing, but it basically says, talks about him and says, he was found alone in his car. He didn't die of an overdose. He didn't die of a heart attack. He didn't die of addiction. He died from mistaken identity. That's the whole thing about what the book is about. And so he gave me that gift. The interesting thing that happened, I have to remind myself about this all the time, how powerful our minds can be as we begin to take on an identity. If someone says, who do you think you are? Some of you have heard this story, but 2 years ago, we were at an event called Sand, Sea, and Spirit over in Gulf Shores, Alabama. And many of you, or a couple of you went to that. This year they didn't have it. They went on a cruise, but they'll have it again next year. This great group of people come together right in Gulf Shores, and it's they have yoga on the beach in the morning, and Tony was there a couple of years ago, and meditation and classes and workshops and all kinds of things. It's a great spiritual community. Well, during that time is about the time that this happened with my friend Keith, and I remember thinking to myself, you know what, it's time to write a book. Because I was one of those people that I didn't want to write a book just to write a book. Many people know about my music around the country from me traveling so long, and people would say, Jack, you should write a book. Your stories are crazy. I would tell the story about the 2-foot-high beehive. And I wrote a song called When I Drive with My Hive at an Angle, dedicated to the woman who had to get into her car sideways and have her beehive stick over their passenger side to get home. And, some colorful things happened growing up in my church, believe me. Like I said, we should have charged a cover. We could have probably made more than the offering. But when I do a concert, I'm able to tell some of these stories, and people over the years have said, Jack, you should write a book. You should write a book. And I thought, I just want to write a book just to write a book. But in the moment I decided to write a book, and I answered that question, who do you think you are? I began to see myself as Jack the author. Jack the author. And we were at Sand, Sea, and Spirit, and this is one of the most interesting cosmic things that's ever happened to me. Now, I haven't written a book. I have no books out with my name on them. I don't even know where this came from, but what happened after I made that decision, a woman came up to me after I did a talk one day, and a woman came up to me at this conference, Sand, Sea, and Spirit, at the beach, and said, I'm not part of this group. I'm staying in a condo on the 3rd floor, but I woke up this morning, and the word Fowler came into my mind. And I got some coffee, and it said Fowler again. She said, I heard Fowler 3 or 4 times, so I wrote Fowler down on a sheet of paper. It's still up on the nightstand in my hotel room, in my condo. And she said, so I'm walking out to go to the beach, and I see this big sign that says, speaking today, Jack Fowler. And she said, I heard the na 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 na, the Twilight Zone music. So that's really weird. So she came in and heard the whole talk. And she came up afterwards and said, I'd like to buy your book. How do I buy your book? I'm like, well, what are you talking about? She's like, I want to get your book. I said, well, I'm writing a book, but I don't have a book. She's like, no, I want to get your book. I just kind of said, okay, well, I'll take your money, but I can't give you a book back. Then I went to their actually they had a little bookstore where they sold stuff, little trinkets and stuff, and even like candles like this. And I was standing there looking at books, and a man from Australia came up to me and said, are you Jack Fowler? And I said, yes. And I said, oh no, where are we going now? He said, I'm from Australia, and I was just in Columbus, Ohio, and I picked up your book. And I started hearing the Twilight Zone music. And I said, I really don't have a... And I started thinking, I'm on candid camera. Like, what is happening here? Then to top it off, I was telling my dear friend Stephen about this, and he said, that's just exaggerated, it's just a coincidence. I said, maybe you're right, I don't know, but it's kind of freaking me out. I need to go to lunch. And so we went to lunch, and we're sitting there having lunch, and we saw another dear friend was having lunch at another table, and we went to tell her hello as we were sitting there. And there was a woman sitting with her that I had never met in my life, ever in my life. And we went to say hello to my friend Ann, and this woman said, oh, Jack Fowler, I have your book. Well, then my friend heard, crazy. And to this day, I can't explain that. I don't know what that's about. All I know is that I must have went into some kind of matrix thing, but in the moment that I declared, who do you think you are? I think I'm an author. Literally, the universe switched itself around to accommodate my thoughts. That's how powerful we are. So on that, you need to help me hold this, on that thought, hold this in mind as a group collectively, because I have till the end of December to get at least the first four chapters completely done and submitted to Hay House. I'm actually, if you're not familiar with Hay House, Louise Hay started it. They published, Wayne Dyer, most of his later books, just about anybody that you name. They're a global publishing house. And I signed up for this book writing class. And as part of the class, someone will win, and you get $10,000. Woohoo! I'll take it. But not only that, the biggest part of it is they then publish your book, and you become a Hay House author instantly. So hold that in mind. The deadline has come. I work good on deadlines. I was one of those people in college, if I had a paper, I wouldn't work on it at all. And then the night before, I'd be feverishly writing, and then get it all together. How many people here need a deadline to get something done? See, I wish I didn't. I see people that start out patiently, and they plot it out, and they make a little schedule, and I just want to punch them in the nose. I'm like, how do you do this? So I know that it will come together, but I really seriously am asking you to hold that in mind. Now, I'm not saying hold it in mind necessarily that I'll win, but that it unfolds perfectly, that I actually get it done. I'm more excited about just getting it done. I've talked about it so much, and it's really changed formats. So help me to know that whatever needs to happen will happen. I think it would be fun to travel around and share stories. It's all in perfect timing, though. I realized that there was a reason why I didn't finish it a year ago, or even before then, is because initially I thought it was going to be like all spiritual, and like, I'm just saying that facetiously, and I had all these thoughts, and I was writing down all these really deep things, and it began to occur to me that I'm really kind of a crazy person that has a lot of colorful stories that have happened in my life. And I happened to read, anybody familiar with Gabby Bernstein that wrote The Universe Has Your Back? If not, you should read it. It's an awesome book. I read her book, and she just told crazy stories about her life, and I was like, I can do that. And I realized that the book has to be me. So it needed to take this long to write, because I really began to change, and I realized the book has to reflect the craziness that I am. I have to talk about the woman with the beehive hairdo, and I have to talk about sneaking and swimming through the baptistry one day when my daddy was preaching, and then blow drying. Back then I had a lot of red hair, and blow drying my hair in the middle of service. So, and in that, telling the truths, including the story of my friend who inspired this. We are all, I mentioned this earlier, we're all suffering from a grand case of amnesia. For we have truly forgotten who we are. And when we ask that question, who do you think that you are? Our answer actually varies from day to day as well. Have you noticed that on some days that you feel really secure in who you are, and you feel very confident, and you feel very trusting of the universe or God or whatever you call it, that you feel just in a state of peace, and you feel trusting, and just have a sense like everything is going to work out. Everything is working out. And I think to myself, man, if I could just feel like this all the time, it feels so good. Because it never fails. The next day, I'm like all over the place, climbing the walls, not trusting, trying to work things out myself, not doing my spiritual practice, jumping up out of bed, trying to take care of things. And we know what happens when you go off on the crazy train and nothing gets done. And we forget to trust. So it varies when we ask that question, and it's an ongoing question that we're always asking. Who do you think that you are? Who do we think that we are? I saw I didn't see it personally, but I saw a church sign online, which I loved. It said, if there's a highway to hell and a staircase to heaven, it kind of tells you what the traffic's going to be like on that day. Think about it. I love watching. There's a Facebook page. It's a great joy to look at it if you like to look at funny stuff. But there's a Facebook page that has funny church signs on it. That's the whole thing, and some of them just crack me up. I read one a couple years ago that said, right up front of the church, it said, reservations, smoking or non-smoking? Because that was one of my favorites as well. So it's a question that we have to ask constantly. We have to refine that question. And it's just our journey as we begin to awaken from this amnesia and begin to really know who we are in the highest and biggest self. And the way I look at it is, at some point I will be the greatest and best version of Jack that I can be. And this beautiful little song that Karen Drucker wrote, when we sing a couple of her songs, just really says it all very simply. It says, you are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are part of me. You are the face of God. So I'd like to invite you to sing that with me this morning as we begin to remember, not only for ourselves, but for all of those that we know and those that we don't know, who we are, as we ask the question, who do you think that you are? You are the face of God. You are the hands and feet of the divine. You are the very presence of love in this world. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. 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 So we ask the question, who do you think that you are? And we get a clear answer from the very wisdom within us that is always reminding us, you are the holy, blessed child of God, created in the image and likeness of love, holy, the beloved. I am that I am, the hands and feet and voice of love in this world. That's who you are. And with gratitude, we acknowledge that nothing can change what God has created whole, perfect, and complete. We are now and will always be children of the Most High. We are always guided, always protected, forever loved. You are the beloved. This is the truth about you, and this is the truth about me. And so it is. Amen and amen. And so realizing how blessed we are, continuing to know daily the truth of our being as we ask this question, we come to the point where we give to our spiritual community, knowing that unity of Metairie is a great and glorious idea in the mind of God. We are here to serve. We are here to provide a safe place for anyone to come and be who they are. Whatever their lifestyle, whatever their religion, whatever their spiritual path may be, we are here as a light, a safe haven of love. And so we give to our vision of co-creating a world that works for everyone, knowing that as we give, it is given back to us, as we step into that divine flow of abundance, knowing that everything is taken care of. And as we give, we bring our offering forward here at the front and take an affirmation to have throughout the day as an act of giving. If you prefer to give by credit card, you can meet Bill out in the Welcome Center, and he can meet you there where you came in and also give you an affirmation there. So we give with open hearts, knowing that all of our needs are met, knowing that we are divine expressions of life in the flow of abundance in all areas of our life. So we continually remind ourselves of who we are. We are so blessed. We are so grateful this morning. So join me in singing as we give with an open and grateful heart. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. And once more together we say, we are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed. Thank you so much to everyone that gives to our spiritual community. if it's through money, through your tithes and offering, through volunteering, through teaching, whatever that may be, we're so grateful. It takes all of us working together to make this the beautiful place that it is. So just a few announcements before we head out into the day. We know, when did the Saints start already?
Noon.
At noon? All right. So all you crazy Saints people will be happy to know that you've already heard it, but we got to keep spreading that news. 2 weeks from today, we're doing the countdown. October 7th, we begin our service at 10:30. So you'll be able to skid out of the parking lot and get down to the Superdome in time if you're going to the game. Please help us spread the word that in 2 weeks we will be starting our new start time at 10:30. We'll also, that morning, we're going to have a waffle breakfast at 9:30. You can come in and have a waffle and fellowship. It will always also be my birthday. So credit cards accepted and cash. We will have a birthday bash for that. So please mark that in your calendar. We're going to be sending out a lot of emails and reminders about this, have it on Facebook, but help us spread the word. At 10:30 will be our new starting time. And we're going to actually develop some more programs around that after we get started, and possibly even a book class at 9:30 in the morning from there on out. So spread the word about that. But we do welcome everyone here today. I know we didn't really have any visitors, but we welcome everybody here, even if you've been going here all 40 years. We appreciate you. Tuesday night is our spiritual education class, and this is the comparative religions class, right? So Paul and Brett, will you tell us about that, Paul? I was planning to say something, but since you're here, say it in the flesh.
Calling the class Comparative Christianity. What's interesting is Google and all will not accept a plural spelling of Christianity. However, there's such a difference between so many different views of Christianity. We're going to spend the class talking about those and how they differ from one another. You just can't say Christian, because everything from Pentecostalism to Catholicism and everything in between.
Well, that should be an interesting class. I love the fact, because Paul showed me that. He said Google wouldn't let him say Christianities. It was refusing to acknowledge that there's plural Christianities. But should be a really interesting class. So show up for that this Tuesday at 7 p.m. And of course, Wednesday is our Faith Lift night. If you need just a lift in the middle of the week, we have an hour of meditation, which is so powerful and beautiful and still, all in one package, where it's music and guided words. We come together as a community to be into the stillness together. And right after that, I facilitate a discussion on A Course in Miracles. So we have a lively group of spiritual seekers that get together and discuss. No experience necessary for either one of these classes. Just show up ready to have a great, great experience. Next Sunday is the 5th Sunday Feast. So bring people in, bring your friends, bring your relatives, fly them in from all over the world, bring them, have them be here. We do this every Sunday, where there's 5 Sundays in the month. Where, now it's not a potluck, so don't bring food. All you need to bring is 10 buckaroos, and for that 10 buckaroos, you get an entree, you get a dessert, and you get a drink. And we set up the room like the Unity restaurant, and we have lunch here instead of going to lunch bunch. I think there's going to be a treat. Now, what the lunch is it casseroles? What is it?
Crock pot.
A variety of crock pot stuff, so it's going to be good. So come and enjoy that with each other. Did we get the CD, Everett, today? We did? All right, so we have CDs of today's service if you'd like to take that home with you to listen or to share with someone else if they need inspiration. It's just $5. Also, we do have our daily word available in the Welcome Center. This is such a great way to start out your morning. It's just $5, and it goes for 2 months every day, just a short reading like Steve read to open the service today. Those are available in the bookstore as well. Where are we going for lunch bunch today?
Zia's restaurant.
Zia's restaurant, all right? So anyone that would like to have lunch together, Sam will go there early and find a spot, Zia's restaurant over in the mall area by Target. And then also we are having a board meeting today. We are not having our town hall meeting today as planned, but our board meetings are open, so you're welcome to stay. But if you'd like to just stay for a moment, go have lunch, you can do that as well. One little bit of important news, I was going to let everyone know, I wish he was here today, but Larry Kirby has resigned from the board, and so we're looking for a new board member. If you're ready to step up into church leadership, and we don't know what the position would be yet, but if you're ready to step into church leadership, please let us know. We want to fill that slot as soon as possible. So we appreciate Larry and all the service that he just had so many things going on. He thought it was best to go ahead and give up his spot. So let us know if you're willing to step into that. So I think that's about it today. Thank you all for being here today. It was such an awesome, awesome day. We're going to give a lot of love to the Saints today. Who are they playing today? The Foul. Uh-oh. Are the Dirty Birds in Atlanta? Oh my God, did I say Dirty Birds on Facebook? But I'm glad I said that because it reminded me. I want to thank everyone that watched us today on Facebook. We appreciate you joining us. We hope to see you in the future. Come and see us in person. We'd love to have you join us. We're going to remind ourselves today with this beautiful Eddie Watkins song that there's one source, one life within you and me. Let's stand together as we head out to the day, remembering that there's one love, one life, one power, one presence in all of us. All right, we love our Eddie Watkins Jr., y'all. He knows how to make a groove. Sing along with us. One life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just want to shout. One life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. There's one life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just want to shout. One life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life, one life, one love. 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 Come on now, break it down. That's it. There's one life, one power. Break it down. That's it. Gonna keep on shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just want to shout. One life living as you and me. One life shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living as you and me. One life shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. All right, as we say the prayer of protection to go out into the day, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a great afternoon, everybody.